got here.
No,
And-
when Randy gets here.
When Randy got here, okay, no.
Or alternatively. May 28th, and I will go ahead and take roll call. I am here. Michelle from Blue Lake is absent. Director Castellano?
Here.
Director Katie?
Here.
Director Bushnell?
Here.
And Director Wilson?
Here.
Okay, we do have a quorum. Let's get this started. Consent calendar. There is no consent calendar. Any public comment?
Seeing none, Chair.
All right, let's move on to review and approve fiscal year 25-26. Can we please get a staff report?
Thank you, Chair. So tonight, I'm mainly going to focus on the changes from the draft budget as presented, while providing a bit of background for some of those changes. But always staff is happy to answer any questions you may have related to the final budget as presented tonight. The budget as a whole remains largely unchanged from the draft budget outside of a few key items. I will be reiterating the budget assumptions again tonight, which encompasses projected revenues and expenditures, member agency tonnage, and grant programs. Then we'll take a look at how these assumptions impacted the waste management fee structure and the adjustments as needed. We will touch on the changes additionally to the organics division line items, as well as the green waste processing fees. And then to finish up the evening, we will take a look at the updated and review of our reserve funds. So, as outlined in the previously draft budget, our revenue assumptions for this year are based on a total of 75,000 tons of solid waste. This is a slight decrease from the total projected tonnage from years past, with the Hawthorne Street Transfer Station and the satellite facilities remaining largely unchanged. But we have seen a drop-off in the out-of-area self-fall, and it has dropped to levels lower than we have historically seen. Staff has continued since the draft budget to analyze the changes to out-of-area self-fall, but to date, we have not solidified any causes in the drop of this tonnage. We will continue to work with our member agencies and out-of-area landfills to try and determine the cause for this precipitous drop throughout this upcoming year in preparation for fiscal year 26-27. Additionally, grant projects will only utilize awarded funds unless otherwise approved by the board. One addition of note is the organics grant funding line. We will touch on this a bit later, but staff projects utilizing some of this funding in the upcoming year from our Organics 7 grant. Outside of the green waste and recycling expenses, the majority of lines are seeing a minimal increase from the prior year in targeted areas based on CIP triggers in operational contracts and proposed COLAs for authority staff, with overall expenses largely unchanged from the draft budget as presented. Staff continues to feel comfortable setting our backhaul percentages at 20% for this upcoming year, but as always, we will continue to monitor for changes that should they come up. The majority of revenue assumptions and line items from the draft budget have remained unchanged. Other revenue includes HHW revenue generated from salvage materials sold, taken off the transfer station floor, and rental income. The majority of those numbers have carried over from the draft as well. Overall revenue has increased from the draft budget, with the increase being directly tied to the status change of upcoming organics and the green waste fees. This has pushed our projected revenue to just over $17 million for the upcoming fiscal year when compared to the $15 million presented in our earlier draft budget. Again, the majority of expenditures remains largely unchanged as well from the draft budget, outside of the increase related to organics and green waste processing. CPI adjustments found in contracts do result in a slight increase in targeted expenditures. One example of this is the landfill leachate hauling and disposal, but overall, these targeted increases are minimal to the overall costs of authority operations when compared to the draft budget as presented. Total projected expenditures of just over $17 million will result in a projected net income of $0 for this upcoming fiscal year. As a reminder, the solid waste portion of the waste management fee is made up of three main components, with programs and targeted divisions being housed inside them. The countywide program fee, which houses pass-throughs and other county-related programs such as the AB 939 funding, LEA fees, and the illegal dumping and cleanup funds. The majority of these fees are set by the County of Humboldt or in the case of the Cummings Road Landfill Pledge of Revenue, state regulatory agencies. And all of these items remain unchanged from the draft budget as presented. The Household Hazardous Waste Facility is now also fully funded by its portion of this fee and no longer relies on solid waste subsidies as it has in the past. Next, we have the HWMA base fee. This is responsible for funding all other programs or divisions at the authority. This sees a slight increase related to the upcoming organics activity, but all other lines remain unchanged. Finally, we have the facility fee, which houses the cost for transportation and disposal of solid waste to Dry Creek Landfill, the direct operational cost of handling that waste, indirect expenses, and the necessary reserve fundings. Again, the majority of these remain unchanged when compared to the draft budget, with the exception of the operational reserve funding. This sees a slight bump of around $20,000 due to the increased operational costs related to the preparation for the upcoming organics facility. The solid waste fees as presented all increased proportionally of around $3 to $4 per ton when compared to the draft budget. This increase is a direct correlation to the organics line item increase found in the HWMA base fees. Self-haul rates will see an increase compared to last year of $16.07. Franchise rates are also set to increase by $14.53 when compared to their current rates. Both satellite sites see a proportional increase as well, with increases of just under $14 per ton compared to current rates. The recycling processing fee is seeing a significant increase from the prior year. This increase has several related factors. Residual waste continues to be a major problem within this waste stream and hovers around 25% annually. When compared to industry standard, this is significantly higher than what would be expected. But unfortunately, this level of residual has been a general trend for member agency waste for several years now. There's also been an overall decrease of commodity value with a noted reduction in CRV material found within our recycling stream. Other cost increases includes general cost of goods, fuel for transportation, and increases in overall labor costs. Additionally, we are seeing an overall trend as well in reduced tons being delivered to the MRF. We have seen a reduction of almost 700 tons of material since 2022. And we are seeing key reductions in aluminum and plastic material delivered, which would confirm the noted reduction in CRV material found within the waste stream. All these factors result in a significant increase of $28.51 per ton when compared to their current rates. So now we come to the two largest changes from the draft budget as presented, and the main reason staff has requested this special meeting this evening. I'm going to touch on the green waste portion first. So for background, in the past, green waste material has been delivered to our green waste processor, Humboldt Organic Solutions, with approximately 30% of those tons delivered composted at the West End Road compost facility. The remainder of that material is then sent as hog fuel to be used by Humboldt Redwood's cogen plant in Scotia. This has been the general operation since early 2021. Green waste fees are considered a one-to-one fee for the authority. Similar to the recycling and processing fee, we simply set the rates at what it costs the authority to have the material shipped and processed. Currently, staff time, fuel for the equipment, and other costs are covered by the solid waste fees, as the time dedicated to managing these streams is minimal operationally. In late April, Humboldt Organic Solution notified staff of changes in their operation, which resulted in significant increases to their costs, which would carry over to our fees across the board. Humboldt Organic staff was notified by Humboldt Redwood in April that they would no longer accept authority material due to ongoing maintenance at the plant in Scotia. This maintenance produced a significant backhaul of material, or a significant backlog of material on site that they need to work through. HWMA staff spoke with operations staff at the boiler plant and in an attempt to determine a timeline for when renewed operations would be underway, but was unable to get a firm timetable on when authority material would be accepted again. With no options locally, this leftover material is now being shipped to SRM Energy in Anderson, California. The proposed increase you see here is directly related to the additional transportation costs of this change. Staff has had limited time to seek out other viable solutions. One idea was to utilize the rate stabilization fund to offset these costs, but without a confirmed timetable, staff was reluctant to propose this option to the board. Staff will continue to monitor the situation and brings updates to the board as we receive them. Moving on, the other significant changes from the draft budget is related to the potential upcoming organics pre-processing facility. As you know, member agency staff has been in franchise negotiations with significant progress made within the last month. HWMA wants to ensure the facility is ready when these programs intend to roll out, and we are hopeful and incredibly optimistic that it may come online as early as July of 2026. Staff plans on utilizing $2 million of the organics grant funding, along with adding just under $3 per ton to the HWMA base fee to cover expenditures that fall outside grant spending for the facility preparations. Unfortunately, tonight I cannot give you an exact or confirmed timeline, but staff will bring an updated timeline and project status to this board in the coming months as we continue to assist member agency staff with these negotiations. Authority reserves, they remain largely unchanged from the draft budget. As mentioned earlier, operating reserves see a minimal increase from the draft budget of around $20,000 to a total threshold of just over $35,000. As directed by this board at the March draft meeting, staff will be examining the original intent of the operating reserve this coming fiscal year and its current efficacy for the authority. We will work towards redefining the purpose and determine an appropriate and necessary funding level for this reserve going forward. The capital improvement reserve remains unchanged and is utilized for future planned expenses related to capital projects as approved by this board. The rate stabilization and employee health and benefits reserve remain fully funded and have no change from the draft budget. With that, staff recommends the board approve the final budget as presented here tonight for fiscal year 25-26. And as always, staff is available for questions should you have them.
Does anybody have any questions?
Can you go back to the reserve slide real quick? Sorry. Oh, sorry. I just jumped in.
Okay.
Leslie first, then you.
Yes, fine.
Okay, thank you. Great. Thanks. I was just curious, it always helps me, you know, we see the numbers for the fee adjustments, but as someone who uses self-haul sometimes, I'm kind of curious, like, what does that look like for your basic everyday self-hauler?
So for self-haul, the minimum fee is generally what encompasses a majority of our residential self-haul. That is slightly increasing by about $1.50 when compared to previous years. So it's not a major increase overall to general residential self-haulers. Yeah, it is obviously an increase. They are going to notice it. That number is going to change, but it's not as significant as the tonnage number would suggest, if that makes sense.
Thanks. It's helpful for me to know that, just because I feel like that's where most of our, residents are going to kind of experience the impact, aside from their, collection fees.
Yeah, a significant number of our residential self-haulers fall under the minimum fee, generally.
And can you remind me again of how much is in that illegal dumping?
I believe it's $50,250, right around $50,000 this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think those are all my questions for now.
Director Wilson?
Yeah, on these fee increases, we've already got, I think, our franchise thing or close to it?
So
How will this factor into the franchise fund?
sure. So what'll end up happening is, should the board approve our final budget this evening, I will send all of our member agencies and your franchise hauler the finalized rates. They already have the majority of these rates, just so they can get a head start. In general, when we move from the draft budget to finalized, our numbers don't normally change significantly. So we give them a heads up as soon as possible, but I'll send them a finalized copy along with the executed resolution. And then your franchise hauler will use that to determine your rates. So they will include that within your rate review. How that directly impacts your rates is not something I can speak to directly, just because each member's franchise is a little bit different. The rate calculations are a little bit different. But suffice it to say, if our rates go up, you're going to see your rates go up. I can't tell you the direct impact.
So that grant that we were going to lose, we're not losing it anymore. You've managed to.
That is
retain it.
correct.
That's amazing. Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we approve, or do you want to go out to public comment first, or what? I'll make a motion that we approve the 24, 25, 25, 26.
25, 26.
25, 26 proposed budget.
I'll second the motion.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any public comment?
Seeing none, Chair.
All right. Then all in favor? Oh, wait,
Aye.
wait.
I just had a couple comments.
Okay. Go ahead.
Sorry. I'll make them quick. The big one is, I think y'all all know by now, I really do appreciate the illegal dumping program. And, I think that, thus, for sure, and to my fellow board members, the city of Eureka uses its share, and sometimes if other communities don't use their share, does end up using other communities' share. And I just want to be transparent about that. And I do think it's something that if we do exceed what's in that amount, I would like for us to at some point bring that back, if there's just like a policy of versus like negatively impacting the other jurisdictions. That, to me, it's more important for our community to address these illegal dumping situations than to be like, oh, we ran out of money to address them and we can't take care of them anymore. So I would like to see us, potentially have some sort of clause that allows us to expand that pool of money in kind of on an as-needed basis or something like that.
Two points of comment for that. One, obviously, I would remind the board that at the draft budget, you gave us direction to rewrite the 901, the illegal dumping and cleanup fund accounts, to rewrite just the program as a whole, to also give the authority the ability to approve uses of those funds. So that will be coming before this board.
Okay.
Probably in June, if not in July, but it will be rolling out in concert with this fiscal year budget. But additionally, we would, in order to do something like that, we would need to either earmark funds that you'd be willing to use, or figure out a methodology to expand that type of funding. Obviously, based on how we collect funds, once we adopt these costs, we don't really have a mechanism for gaining additional funds outside what's budgeted. So we would need to figure out a way to earmark potential funds. I mean, we could use some of our reserves. Staff could take a look at other options, but generally we don't have the flexibility or the ability to expand funding levels like that
Right.
during the year.
And I think that's kind of what I was imagining, if there would be some sort of like some small percentage of I forget which reserve was the largest one, but could be used for that.
And we could also take a look at mid-year as well. We can make mid-year adjustments if there is excess funding in certain line items. We could reallocate it to the illegal dumping and disposal.
Sure.
Now I have a question. I'm sorry. So the county passed their nitrous ordinance, and Arcata just did, and I know that the rest of the jurisdictions are set to pass it, hopefully. Can you like ballpark how many you get and how much it costs to get rid of those?
I could bring you actual numbers if you'd like before the board. Next meeting, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. I will say that they are a everyday, daily occurrence. They got to a point in time and they are so expensive and so difficult to get rid of that we had to start turning individuals away and requiring that they provide disposal services out of the area for themselves. Our household hazardous waste facility is governed by a very strict permit, and generation levels are basically the threshold that lets us service residents and conditionally exempt small quantity generators, smaller businesses. And a majority of these individuals that were bringing them in were outpacing their generation limits, and so we could no longer service them anyway. They are exorbitantly expensive to get rid of. They're compressed gas cylinders, basically. That's how they have to be dealt. They have to be overpacked very specifically. They have to be labeled very specifically. Our hazardous waste disposal provider does take them, but at a very, very significant cost. And I'd be happy to bring forward what that cost looked like in the last year, if you'd like, and the amount. That's something that we keep track of all that. So
I'm really interested in that, and perhaps with the money that we're saving from not having to get rid of them, we can put it in.
yeah, I would be
dumping
more than
fund.
happy to bring that forward.
All right, awesome. Michelle?
So clarification that we had the first introduction of the ordinance and the hearing will come next week. So I don't want that to get out there before it goes through, but it was unanimous to move forward. Secondly, how are the funds generated now, the $50,000 for the illegal dumping?
They're a line item in the countywide program fees. So if you look at table 1 of our solid waste management fees, they're a very specific line item in our countywide program fees that we collect on every ton of member agency material.
So then that's built in, and then it goes to, so, I mean, I hear what Leslie's saying. However, to take from our reserve and not generating funds to replace that, I can't say that I'm in favor of that. You're going to deplete your reserves. You can quickly without regenerating funds. And so I would want to look at some other mechanism to create funding for that specific to if we need an increase. Secondly, is that for jurisdictional places only, or is it for Humboldt as well, unincorporated?
Oh, it's for all member agencies.
Okay.
Yeah, all member. County of Humboldt uses it. City of Arcata has used it this year. City of Eureka have used it as well.
Okay.
Yeah, it's available to all member agencies.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Yep.
Right. Do we have any other questions? Speak now. All right. Well, then, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And then, do we have any reports? Anybody on the board want to report out anything? All right. Director Keller-Heckman, do you have anything to report?
Not at this time, Chair.
Well, then I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Thank you so much.